1 hour and 55 minutes, the shortest game in 19 seasons for the San Francisco Giants. And Logan Webb put a performance on 9 innings, 5 hits, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. His changeup was unbelievable, unhittable. And further than that, he was just flat out awesome. 13 ground balls, 6 fly balls, 13 ground balls, 4 to shortstop, 4 to second, 3 to third, 1 to first, and 1 he took it for himself. But what a performance. He got in a jam in the first inning. Well, you know Logan Webb hates the first inning. He got out of it with 2 strikeouts to Rooker and Langelier. And then sure enough, he started up and he never stopped. He gave up a base hit in the 4th inning, got out of it with a walk after that, got out of it. In the 6th inning, a base hit to lead off the inning with Andujar, and he didn't show any signs of stopping. Gave up a hit and 2 outs in the 9th inning to Toro, and sure enough, he got the ground ball to second. Just exactly what the Giants needed. A win, and that's what they got. Offensively, we got a lot of trouble. But we got a lot of trouble on the offensive side. 0 for 7 in runners in scoring position, and that has been the Achilles heel for the San Francisco Giants. That somehow got to get cleaned up. The offense, once again, only coming up with 4 hits on 1 run. 1 run. That was all they could manage today. Of course, yesterday they had 2 runs on 5 hits, so they had 9 hits altogether when you look at 18 innings. And this offense, somehow, some way, somebody's got to get hot. And they just are not playing offense baseball. And when I say offense baseball, you got to get them on, get them over, get them in. Well, they did that a couple times, but they never got them in. The 1 inning when they scored in the 5th inning, Yaz got a nice base hit. Luciano going to right field with a nice base hit. He got a base hit in both these games, 1st and 3rd, and sure enough, Brett Wisely hit a sac fly to center field for an RBI, and that was all the scoring the Giants did. And they ended up mustering 1 run on 4 hits. But tonight was Logan Webb night. After a few outings that he struggled, and boy, he did struggle. In the post-game wrap, they had him on NBC Bay Area. He said Brian Price and he looked at tapes. They wanted to see what was going wrong. And the big problem was the changeup. So they went back throwing the changeup in between starts, and he got it back today. The thing was dishing, dashing, moving up, moving down. I mean, he had hitters going, swinging over it, hitting ground balls with it. The 6 strikeouts he had, 3 of them were by changeups, 1 by a slurve, and 2 by sinkers. Patrick Bailey, you can't say enough about him because you just don't talk about the battery mate much, but Patrick Bailey called a terrific game. A couple times they changed it up, no problem whatsoever, but he was magnificent once again working with Logan Webb. And you start looking at what Logan Webb threw tonight. He threw 106 pitches, 73 for strikes. And when you look and dissect what the numbers are, 54 changeups. That's right, 54 out of the 106 pitches were changeups, 39 were sinkers. So it was moving left, right with the sinker, and the changeup was just falling off the table. 9 slurs, 4 four-seamers. That was it. It was mainly changeups and sinkers. And they played a good team. The Oakland A's were 15-8 coming into this, 8-3 in their last 11. They had 45 home runs in the month of July, and he stymied them. There wasn't really one ball hit to the warning track. He really kept it in the ground, on the ground. 13 ground balls, as I said, 6 fly balls. Just a great, great outing. And that's exactly what the Giants needed right there, a win. We talk about what Farhan Zaidi did at the trade deadline. Talked about it last night about the offense. Not much. He didn't get any much. So he's really relying on these young players to come through. And once again, they did not. They did not. All of a sudden, Tyler Fitzgerald goes 0 for 3 tonight. Fitzgerald goes 0 for 4 last night. And the hot bat that he had for 11-game hitting streak has cooled off. Mike Yastrzemski 1 for 3 tonight. Last night, 0 for 3. And he had a 5-game hitting streak. All of a sudden, now there's a little more pressure on the hitting, more pressure on the offense. Now they go to 2 hitters' parks, Cincinnati and Washington. Somehow, some way, they got to develop some offense. This is a big, big question mark. Of course, Farhan Zaidi was saying we got the best rotation in baseball. I'm all for it, Farhan, but I think you forgot what you needed to do. You needed to get hits and runs for these guys, and let's hope some of this happens on this road trip. They have a losing road trip, under 500, so they're going into Cincinnati and Washington and could possibly try to get back in this race. All of a sudden, San Diego and Arizona are hot. San Diego beat the Dodgers again. They're only 4.5 games out in the NL West, and right behind them is the Arizona Diamondbacks. So it's going to be heating up here in the NL West. The Dodgers all of a sudden lost that mojo, and the Padres and the Diamondbacks are right on their tail. And let's just hope the San Francisco Giants can get a winning road trip. They had a nice homestand going 5-1, and now they have Snell, Harrison, and Ray, 3 lefties going against the Cincinnati Reds. 808 KNBR, if you want to get on the phone lines, let's talk about this game. Jeff Young from Fanside Editor is going to be on with me later tonight. Also had a nice interview with an ex-Oakland A, Mike Norris, and what he's doing in the Oakland community with kids. So you'll hear that later in the show. All right, I'm going to take a quick break. Let's get back on the phone lines. Got a few of them calling in. This is Bill Lasky. This is Sports Phone KNBR. We're going to take a quick break. Come back with more.
Rolling. Live from the KNBR Casino Matrix Progressive Jackpot Studios. Casino Matrix. Progressive Jackpots are here. Where are you? Just drop in. Please play responsibly. 1-800-GAMBLER.
1 ball and 2 strikes with 2 down, runner at first. Webb to the plate. Ground ball to second. Couple of high hops. Wisely over to first. And Logan Webb with a complete game shutout to beat the Oakland Athletics. And for Webb, anything other than a shutout was not going to get it done. So Webb with his third career complete game and his second shutout, and just a magnificent performance. And he was sort of focused big time. His last three had not been nearly as good. And he had an extra day, but the original plan was for him not to go until Friday in Cincinnati. But he did tell him, he says, I'd rather not have that extra day off.
All right, welcome back to Sports Phone KNBR with Bill Lasky. Giants win today 1-0. 808 KNBR, the phone line. Phone lines are open. Let's talk about this win. Let's talk about this homestand as they go 5-1 on the homestand, sweeping the Colorado Rockies for 4. Oakland beats them yesterday 5-2. And Logan Webb throws a gem today, 1-0. You heard John talk about his last shutout. That happened July 9th, 2023, against the Colorado Rockies, where he went 9 innings. He won 1-0 on a J.D. Davis home run. 7 hits, no walks, 10 strikeouts. That was the only other shutout Logan Webb had in his career up until today. And you look at what the Oakland A's have done. I think I mentioned it before, 15-8 on the month, 8-3 coming in here on their last 11, and really have been performing extremely well. They won their last 4 series in a row. Of course, this series was only a 2-game series, and they finished it 1-1. The Giants win today. They go 13-12 for the month of July. First winning month since May, when they were in 15-13. In the month of June, they were 12-15. The month of April, 12-14. So a winning month, and I think that is a little positive mojo going into the month of August. When we look at the month of August and you look at some of the teams they're playing, of course, under 500, Cincinnati and Washington for 7. Detroit comes in here on August 9th for a 3-game series, and then Atlanta comes in for 4. They go back to Oakland for 2. They play the White Sox at home, Seattle in Seattle, Milwaukee in Milwaukee, and they finish up with Miami. So there is some movement here in the month of August to get some wins, and I think it starts on this road trip to Cincinnati for 3. And of course, first pitch on Friday will be at 4:10. Blake Snell on the hill for the Giants. On Saturday, the same time, Kyle Harrison on the hill on Saturday, and Robbie Ray will do it on Sunday, and that's a 10:40 start. And then they go to Washington, and Birdsong will pitch on Monday, and Logan Webb back on the 6th on Tuesday. Good game all around today, and breaking down Logan Webb a little bit more when you look at it, one of the biggest things you got to look at is how many pitches did he throw? And we'll break that down right here. And I think one of the main things is he kept it under 15 to 20 pitches every inning. When you look at what he did, 16 in the first, 13 in the second, 10 in the third, 21 in the fourth, 8 in the fifth, 7 in the sixth, 10 in the seventh, 11 and 10. Just a great mix of pitches. He didn't get one double play ball, got a couple balls that the infield caught. A nice play in the 6th inning to get Andujar, a ball up the middle that Wisely caught, flipped it over to Fitzgerald, and he bobbled it, but he ended up picking it up for the out. That was a key out right there. And then he more or less got into a groove and finished the game just with 1 hit in the 9th inning. All right, good game right there. Logan Webb gets his win. He's 8-8 right now for the season. And just like I said, a performance that we all love to watch. And Logan Webb was the ace of the staff, and he sure pitched well tonight. All right, let's get to the phone lines. Let's have some fun tonight. Let's go to Woody in South Salito. Woody, you are on Sports Phone KNBR with Bill Lasky. How you doing tonight?
Good. How you doing? First-time caller, long-time listener.
Woody, just put the phone closer to you. I can barely hear you, but thank you for calling for the first time. I love hearing first-time callers. Yeah, I can hear you now.
Oh, right on. Well, I just wanted to call. I was at the game last night. Obviously the A's got the better of us, unfortunate. But I do think that we're on the right path. Obviously this is not the Brian Sabian Giants of the early 2010s. Farhan's maybe a little bit different, but I think that chemistry is built, not bought. Where we made a lot of good purchases in the offseason. I do think that, going forward, we have a lot of young guys that have a lot of promise, a lot of talent. So I think we do kind of have to let them, be who they are.
Yeah, I think one of the concerns, Woody, is the offense. I think that's one of the biggest concerns that I think all Giants fans are watching the last two games. They got to get some thump going. They got to get some guys that can hit in runners in scoring position. This has been a crutch for them all year. And again, tonight they had a couple opportunities to score and they just couldn't. And these are added runs. These are runs that they need to start performing better and driving them in.
Absolutely, but I mean, you look at you look at our World Series championships, and you look at those wins that we were able to get with Matt Cain, Madison Bumgarner. A lot of those wins in those seasons, they were 1-0 games, 2-0 games.
Yeah.
So
well, this was a good game tonight. No doubt about it. You put Logan Webb on your back, and he took you 9 innings, and I love that Bob Melvin kept the ace out there, throwing 106 pitches, 73 for strikes. He was in command pretty much that whole game. His changeup was just magnificent.
A lot of stress on the pitching staff, and obviously that's not how you become an elite team going forward. But you want to have the offense, you want to have those big hits. But I just do think it's a different league, and to be a Giants fan and expecting huge hits and huge home runs, I think that's just something that maybe we're not really used to. So I don't know if
we'll find out, Woody. I think Woody, we're going to find that out on this road trip going into Cincinnati and Washington that are hitters' ballparks, and let's hope this offense gets rolling and gets them starting pitchers some runs so they can go deeper in the game. But thanks for calling, Woody. I'm glad you did for the first time, and I appreciate your time tonight, Woody. Thank you so much. And I think Yep, and I think what Woody's saying is pretty much, let's keep this team going now. They're gelling. We have to get some offense. I'm going to say that 100 times tonight, but this is something that they're going to have to strive on and work harder on, especially with runners in scoring position. We keep talking about it nightly, daily, all the talk shows. Something's got to change in getting better approaches, something different going up to that at bat to try to make contact with a runner on third or second with less than 2 outs. We'll find out. 0 for 7 tonight, but the 1 run was enough. All right, let's go to Walnut Creek and talk to Dennis. Dennis, you're on Sports Phone KNBR with Bill Lasky. How's your night going, Dennis?
Very nice, Bill. Thank you. You know what? I enjoyed this game. Old school baseball. It was, to see a complete game, it's like, you got to be kidding me.
That's true. You know what? I never even thought about that, Dennis. When's the last time we've seen a complete game? I mean, and then a shutout on top of it.
On top of it. And, this Logan Webb, really a good kid and really a battler. I can't say who he reminds me of. He kind of reminds me of a Matt Cain.
Yeah, I think a lot of comparisons go to Matt Cain, the grinder on the mound. Nothing affects him. The error by Fitzgerald in the 8th inning, it could have been an easy 1-2-3 inning, and now he's got a pitch against Blade, who had 2 hits off of him. Sure enough, Blade popped it out to center field. I was a little nervous right there because Yastrzemski and Ramos were right there again. I was hoping it wasn't going to fall in, and sure enough, Ramos caught it. A little nervous there at that time.
Yeah, I will have to take my hat off to Bob Melvin, because I'm not going to mention names, but I think last year he would have been out maybe 6th, 7th inning or whatever. But Bob Melvin stuck with him, and he played the card, and he made a good choice, and I'm sure Logan's going to be very happy about that, and it gives him nothing but confidence. But one of the things the callers are saying about, and I can't get over it either, is just the hitting. These are the best players in the world, and I just don't understand.
It's the clutch hit, Dennis. It's that clutch hit, that clutch foul ball or fly ball. It's the clutch making contact. You know, I go back to the day when somebody hit a triple. I can't think who hit a triple, and they struck out 3 times in a row. I mean, it was that kind of offense that you have to stop. And it's just to a point where somebody's got to make a fly ball out, something to put the ball in play.
Yeah, it reminds me of back in the day when Matt Duffy or Scudero would just get that key hit, you know, and I just can't. There's just nobody that I can see that comes up and gets that one key hit, and it can turn the thing right around. I think, you know, if they had better hitting, and I'm not, you know, criticizing the players. I know they're trying their best, but you know, they could be maybe another 10 games on their record, but. Boy, oh boy, it's just so frustrating to watch this. But it was fun to watch Logan Webb. What a battler. I just really admire that kid. I think, and another thing, Bill, I think the pitching staff is kind of coming around, and I like to see the young guys. And who knows? They may back into a wild card, but you know, they
got a long way to go, though, Dennis. You know, that's the problem. There's so many teams in front of them, and then you look at the NL West, you look at the Padres and the Diamondbacks playing extremely good baseball. Padres are only 4.5 games out of first place, and the Dodgers are falling backwards. Of course, if you didn't hear Kershaw, first game, I think it was 17 years, he didn't strike out a hitter, and the Padres laid into him, and they ended up winning two games to the back-to-back games. So last night they came back and won it in the bottom of the 10th. Today they pounded Kershaw, and now the Dodgers are looking in the rearview mirror because there's a couple teams right up behind them.
Well, the Padres always, to me, seem like they always had a pretty good team. I just don't know if they have good chemistry for whatever reason. It just, you know, when you look at talent, you see they got the talent, but I don't know. And the Giants, they have a little bit of talent, but they have good chemistry. So
let me ask you this question, Dennis. Do you like the move with Marco Luciano coming up from AAA and now being your designated hitter? Because 2 games, he had a couple nice at-bats. 1 hit to right field today, a double last night, a nice hustle today on a fly ball to center field. He hustled in on a sac fly to get into second base. I think it's a good move. Let's see what he can do. What do you think?
Absolutely. Young and athletic. And listen, sometimes they bring these guys up and they give them a couple of games. They send them down. I get so frustrated. Even like Birdsong, he went down a couple of times, and I'm thinking, gee whiz, give them a shot. They may just be the ones that's going to turn this thing around and at least be a little bit.
Well, that's why I was a little happy when I saw, and I love Alex Cobb. I liked working with him. He gave me some great interviews. A nice guy, very educated in the game of pitching. But I was kind of glad they kind of moved him to give Birdsong that opportunity to stay in the rotation at a 22-year-old, to have both him and Harrison in the rotation as righty and lefty for the future. I just think I really, really like how he goes after hitters. Nothing phases him. I loved what Kirk Caselli said about him last time. He pitches like a veteran. He throws changeups 3-2, curveballs 2-2, and he knows when to go out of the zone when he needs to. And right then and there, when you're hearing Kirk Caselli say that, that's a pat on the back for this young man.
Absolutely, yeah. Kirk Caselli and the you know, the other pitchers that mentor these young kids. It's going to be a win-win eventually. But just let them go. Let them throw the ball. These guys are built to pitch. I don't know why they get nervous 50, 60 pitches. And I know they pay them a lot of money, but damn it, let them pitch.
I agree. And you know what? That's what Bob Melvin's doing. Over 100 pitches. 100 pitches for Birdsong, 100 pitches for Harrison. Of course, today with Logan Webb, 106. Not that bad. You know, if it was 115, 120, yeah, but I don't think he's going to get him that far. But for a complete game, 106 pitches and only 1 inning, Dennis, he went 21 pitches. All the other innings were 16 pitches or less, and that's a performance right there.
The guy's a stud. I really admire him, and he doesn't want to come out. He's a bulldog, and
he sure
is. Like Matt, you know, the old 2010 guys. Yeah, I love it. Anyway,
Dennis, thanks for the call. I appreciate it, and good stuff as always. I appreciate your time, Dennis. Thank you.
All right, great show, Bill. Thank you.
Yep, and with that win, the Giants go 5-1 on the homestand and a 13-12 record for the month of July. As I said it earlier, the second time only this season where they've had a winning month, and the other one was in May when they went 15-13. 808 KNBR. If you want to get on the phone lines, let's go out to Berkeley and talk to my buddy Andrea. Andrea, how are you doing this evening?
I am doing great. I love the old school complete game shutout in under 2 hours.
How about that? 1 hour and 55 minutes. Woohoo! That was a quick one.
Right? That's how it used to be back in the day, you know?
Yeah, no doubt about it. I loved what Logan Webb said. He goes, I just work fast. I don't wait. I know what I want to throw. I know what Bailey wants to throw. Our mindset's on it, and I'm ready to go. And he did. He was right in there every time. Every inning, quick innings. Some innings he had 8 pitches, one at 7, couple of them at 10, one at 11. And that's dealing right there, Andrea.
Oh, yeah, totally. I mean, this was like, Hudson, Mulder, Zito, Matlack, Kuzman, Seaver. It was just like
Greg Maddux.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, this is how it used to be. It's so efficient. And he's such an intense, determined Scorpio. November 18, 1996. And Scorpios are good in a crisis. And, the Giants are far from a crisis, but you don't want to get swept. It's the Battle of the Bay. He had that nice, 4-game hit win streak. So
right.
That transformation.
And that's why I said, coming in here, you had a 6-game homestand. It would have been nice to take 6, but going 5-1 after that road trip, and it was a tough road trip, losing 2 out of 3 to Colorado, 3 out of 4 out of the Dodgers, and then coming back and getting hot against Colorado, scoring 25 runs, 44 hits, and then they get the day off. And yesterday, they were just dismal at the plate. They just couldn't get anything going. And even worse today, they had people in scoring position. They just couldn't come up with a clutch hit or even a clutch fly ball.
Yeah, so it was, if you get a timely hit or two, but you have pitching like Logan Webb or lately like Blake Snell, it's just really, really good to see that happen. And, Twitter had all these complete game graphics. It's like almost unheard of.
Yeah, I loved what Dave Fleming did, and of course my producer did it also, Jacob, looking up his last shutout, which was July 9th, where he gave up 7 hits, 10 strikeouts, and it was a 1-0 game against the Rockies. That was right before the All-Star game, and the old man, J.D. Davis, hit a home run in that game for the win, but another 1-0 shutout. So Logan Webb is comfortable in that situation, and I think Bob Melvin felt the same way. If it was higher in pitch count, if it was close to 100, 105, I think we would have saw Camilo Duvall in the 9th.
Was his pitch count? What did it end up being?
It ended up being 106 total, 73 for pitches. But he was at 85 after 7, 96 after 8. So he was pitching 10, 11 pitches, and he got in one jam in the 8th when Fitzgerald booted that ball, gave him another 3 or 4 pitches. But his pitch counts were down. He was getting those ground ball outs, 13 ground ball outs, Andrea, and that's the Logan Webb we know.
Yes, he was very efficient, and with positive Mars transits, energy, assertion, aggression, he just really impressed people by being so efficient and being really focused and intense and just kind of taking the realm. And
he took it by himself. He took the bull by the horns and said, give me one run, and he did it. Andrea, thanks for the call tonight. It's great talking to you as always. Have a great week, and I'll talk to you on this weekend.
Yes, look forward to it. Thank you, Bill.
Thanks, Andrea. Yep, and it was totally right. I mean, when you talk about how many pitches per inning, never got in a big jam. The first inning, he had to get out of it with 2 base hits, struck out Rooker, struck out Langelier, and both of them with sinkers. The slurve came in, the changeup came in, 6 strikeouts, 3 by changeup, 1 by a slurve, 2 by sinkers. The sinker was moving. He had good movement on it, staying low in his zone. He got had a couple balls elevated, but most of the time he was getting them out in front of the swing, especially the swing pass on a lot of these guys. That front foot was way out in front of the changeup, and Logan Webb threw a gem, struggling a little bit before the All-Star game with Toronto. Then he went to the All-Star game, through that one inning there. Wasn't the best for him. His last 2 outings, 4 earned runs in both those games. And I loved what he said on the post-game show on NBC. He said, we worked on what was working for me in the beginning. And if you remember, he had 11 games, 6 innings or more. Brian Price, Garvin Alston looked at tapes with him, and they realized the changeup just kind of was missing. Wasn't out of his repertoire, and sure enough, boy, he hit it today. That grip was perfect, the motion was perfect, and that ball was falling out like a parachute, and that's a Logan Webb changeup. Great job by Logan Webb tonight. 808 KNBR, we want to get on the phone lines. Let's go to Tony. Tony was at the game tonight. Tony, you're on with Bill Lasky on Sports Phone KNBR. How are you?
Bill, I'm doing great. How are you doing?
You went to the game today. Tell me what the feeling was in that 9th inning when Logan Webb went back out there.
Oh, it was electric out there. We were all on our feet. Even the A's fans were respecting it. It was pretty impressive. It was a great night tonight.
So when you watched him pitch from the first inning after he gave up the first 2 hits, were you thinking, uh-oh, here comes one of those first innings by Logan Webb?
Well, yeah, I was a little worried because my dad told me about the old All-Star jinx with Giants pitchers, so I got a little worried. But hey, he pulled through today, pitched a great game. We had great defense behind us. Matt Chapman's an absolute vacuum back there. They all called over.
He sure was. I tell you who else made a couple nice plays was Wisely. That ball up the middle where he backhanded it and flipped it over to Fitzgerald, and he dropped it and picked it up. That ball was a bullet up the middle, and he picked it cleanly. That ball was off Rooker, and Rooker's nailed that. And I thought that was one of the big plays that happened in that 6th inning after Andahar got the base hit, because that would have probably made it 1st and 3rd, and trouble would have been happening. But they pick it, they get an out, and sure enough, he gets a fly ball and a ground ball to get it out of that inning, and it was just a masterpiece. Logan Webb threw a masterpiece tonight.
Absolute masterpiece, and that Wisely's growing on me. And when Snell was throwing that perfect game the other day, he had made that play. It reminded me of Gregor Blancos, and he's really growing on me. I like that kid.
Yeah, I tell you, they just need to get some hitting, though. That's the big thing, Tony. Who's going to be the clutch hitter? Who's going to get hot? They can't just live off one run a game, and hopefully these starters continue to push into the 6th and 7th inning. We heard everybody talking about. Farhan was saying, I love my pitching staff, but I think he forgot to look on the offensive side because he really didn't pick up any good hitters. He lost Soler, and this offense is going to go with Luciano, Fitzgerald, Wisely, Yaz. I mean, some guys that really have not been that great down the run here, and they haven't been proven yet. What do you think about the offense? You worried a little bit?
Well, we picked up a big back. We got a Portuguese in the lineup there, and I'm really excited from a fellow Azorian Portuguese. So we got to love Mark Canna going out there in the outfield. We got to love it. But
he'll be joining the team in Cincinnati. I guess he couldn't get back here in time. I think that was a good move to clear out of Detroit, just head on down to Cincinnati and pick up the team there. And we'll see what Kanye does because he knows Bob Melvin, Matt Williams. Of course, he played with Chapman. I think he'll be good for the clubhouse.
Agreed. I would have hoped we would have got a bigger bat out there with that rotation. What I don't like is I feel like at the off season with I don't not like Farhan. I'd like us to pick a side. I feel like we always kind of stay kind of ride both sides, and I'd like us to pick a side here. But hey, I'll ride them until I die. Hopefully, we pull through and can make the playoffs because I wouldn't want to play us with our rotation.
Oh, I tell you what, you get in a rotation with this lineup, and not lineup, I should say, with that starting rotation, you are going to be dazzled when you got Snell, Webb, Robbie Ray, and you got 2 rookies with Harrison and Birdsong. That's a very strong starting rotation. So let's see what happens, Tony, on this road trip, Cincinnati and Washington. You got 3 lefties going against Cincinnati Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and we'll be right here on KNBR talking about it. But I appreciate your time, Tony, and I'm glad you went to the game tonight.
Hey, thank you. And one more thing. All I got to say is it could be worse. All I saw was A's fan holding cell signs today. We are a great franchise. You got to love the Giants. Go Giants. We got this.
Tony, thanks for the call. Appreciate your time. And You know, when you talk about this game and you talk about over 35,000 people there, and Tony said it, everybody was standing in that ninth inning, even A's fans, because it was that kind of game. It was that kind of pressure point of the ninth inning, and Logan Webb stepped up, and boy, oh boy, he threw a gem. All right, let's go up to Portland and talk to my buddy Greg. Greg, you're on Sports Phone KNBR with Bill Lasky on a Wednesday night. What's going on, my friend?
Hi, Bill. I wanted to chime in on old-fashioned baseball tonight.
It was great, wasn't it? First beautiful game.
Yep.
9 innings, shutout. When did that happen lately?
Not lately. But I'm old enough to remember that even in as they say, the day, going 9 innings and winning, let alone 1-0, was not all that common either.
Mm-hmm.
And it was I watched it, and it was I thought it was a gem, and especially in 2024.
Well, you looked at Logan Webb in the first inning when he gave up 2 hits, and I'm like, oh, here we go, that first inning, got to get out of it, and all of a sudden he punches out the last 2 guys, and I'm like, okay, we're good. I think that one ball that Wisely missed, I think the ground was so wet still, kind of skipped by him, and I really wondered if that was going to be a double play. He couldn't get to it, the backhand. And next thing you know, Logan Webb got out of it, and boy, he was on fire. And I loved what Bailey did behind the plate, mixing up his pitches. And once he got that feel of that changeup, and you watched it, Greg, they were so far in front of it, their hands were out front, their front foot was out front, and they were just fouling balls off or missing it.
Yep, and that's why I called in. I just wanted to chime in, and you're an old pitcher from the same era that we're probably the same age. And
you're calling me an old pitcher. I like that one. Thanks, Greg. I appreciate that.
When I say old, that's a compliment. I mean,
is that the veteran mind of mine? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's the classic era. Pre-21st century.
Pre-analytic days, right?
Crap.
Pre-analytic days when they had old scouting reports from the scouts from the stands. That's
right.
what we've had. That's great.
So it was. So I just wanted to, call in and say I really enjoyed the game, and and a lot of the fans have been calling in tonight, saying the same thing. Now, I will say good evening with this. We're kidding ourselves. The team's not going anywhere. So if we make 500, it'll be a surprise to me. This team is what it is. It wins 1-0, lose 5-1 the night before to Oakland, and then you saw what Farhan and management and ownership did 2 days ago. Just folks, we're in the wilderness, and I'm a fan.
Well, I made a point yesterday, Greg, and I'm sure when you were watching MLB Network, because everybody was watching it when they started showing some of the moves the Giants had, and the whole panel just looked at each other, and they both said, 2 of them said, what's the direction of the Giants? What are they doing? And nobody knew, because they said in the last 3 years, I don't think the Giants even know what they're doing. And you just said it. I think the direction of this team, are we going with young guys? Are we signing free agents going with the older realm? I don't know what it is, but I know one thing.
Look,
they're pushing these young guys to be these big league hitters, and I don't know if they're up to do it.
Bill, you got to go to the root of the problem, and we've got some great fans, we got great callers into you, and you are knowledgeable, and I've told you this. I can't remember that guy that called in a couple of times last year when we hit the wall last year, and we were all disgusted last year. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was late August or mid-September. It's been so bad for so long, I can't keep it straight. But remember what I'm saying now, and I'll say so long for this evening. I'm not going away. I love the Giants.
You're never go away from me. Come on, Greg. You're in Portland. You're not going anywhere.
But the root problem are the Johnsons. It's ownership. And they have majority ownership. As I understand it, I've tried to figured this out. I even went to Wikipedia. But as I understand it, so if somebody calls in after me in a minute and says the guy's all wrong, I'm doing.
It's your opinion. Your opinion means
well,
everything.
It's not my opinion. I tried
Sure
to do
it
some
is.
research on this.
Yeah.
But as I understand it, the Johnsons are the majority ownership. They have like 26% share, and so what they say goes. So they don't own the whole team, but the rest of the owners own less than 26%. So they have to go along with what Old Man Johnson and his son Greg do. So the bottom line is they're more interested in getting Trump back in the White House.
Okay. All right, you're going off track now, Greg. Come on now.
Wait a minute.
Hurry up. I got other callers coming. You can't go off track with this.
Are you going to let me talk 10 more seconds?
10 more seconds you got, because I got a whole board.
Here we go. 1001. Okay. They look at the Giants as an investment, as a return. And the Giants are a great return. We got loyal fans. You got a guy in Portland, Oregon that is devoted to him and comes.
And they need to win. That's what you want to finish it with.
Yeah,
they need to win.
And they don't have the passion for the game that you and I do. And I think most guys that are in pro sports, not just baseball, most owners that are in this, they're not in it for the money. They're in it because they're fans of the game, and beyond that, a lot of them are fans of whatever team they.
Greg, our conversation will continue. I got to jump to another callers. I appreciate your time.
Thanks for putting up with me.
Yeah. All right, we're going to take a quick break. I got a full board here. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll come back with more calls right here on Sports Phone KNBR with Bill Lasky.
The nighttime is the right time for Sports Phone KNBR. Let's go on the sports leader. Streaming live on YouTube at KNBR 1045.
So he is the possible tying run, and here is Blade. 2 for 3, left-handed batter. Swing, and he hits a high drive out towards Triple's alley. Back into his right in the big part of the yard is Yaz along with Ramos. And Ramos steps in front of Yaz and makes the catch. Well, that time Ramos did exactly what he was supposed to do. If he calls for it, then he's got to take it. And Yaz did get out of his way. The inning is over. That's 8 strong for Webb, even in this inning where he got, in effect, he got 4 outs.
All right, back on Sports Phone KNBR with Bill Lasky, and the Giants win today in a thriller 1-0. Logan Webb goes 9 and gets the shutout. Pitchers with multiple 1-0 shutout wins in the last 10 seasons. Last 10 seasons now. Johnny Cueto, 2016, had 2. Clayton Kershaw in 2018 had 2. Noah Syndergaard, 2018 and 19, had 2. And Logan Webb also on the board with 2, 1 in 2023 and 1 in 2024. 9 innings, shutout ball for Logan Webb. All right, let's get back down the phone lines. Let's go to Gary in Newberry Park. Gary, you're on with Bill Lasky on Sports Phone KNBR. Hope you're having a good night.
Yeah, real good, Bill. I heard you talking about the lack of offense, and I agree with you. I'm with you on that. But the thing I don't understand is at the deadline, why he didn't get somebody else in here besides Mark Canha.
I agree. And you know what? You had first base. First base is a big hole. I know Lamont Wade Jr.'s there, but he's not 100%. You had an opportunity to get Bell, who ended up going with Arizona, and they only paid him $2 million. And the guy I really wanted to see, and the White Sox probably would have traded him, was Vaughn, the first baseman there that's an ex-Cal guy. And that would have been a nice pickup. They needed to get another bat in the middle of this lineup, and he just didn't do it.
Well, Bill, we got a guy at Sacramento. He's hitting .352. Juan Encarnacion. He plays first base, right field, left field.
Good call.
Bring this guy up.
That's a good call from the Mexico League, and he's pounding the ball right now, hitting balls out of the ballpark. We might see him. You might see him. We just don't know what the moves they're going to do here. They're going to have to do something to get this offense rolling. The runners in scoring position, I've said it many times. I'm sure, Gary, you know it. It's a crutch for this team. They just cannot come up with a clutch hit.
You know better than anybody. You pitched 1 year for the Giants. You were 13-12. You had an ERA of 3.2, and they couldn't score runs for you.
They didn't do that for 4 years for me. That's the problem. I could have probably – my first year I lost 6 one-run losses. I would have loved to have been like 19 or 20 wins my rookie year. Didn't happen, but it was fun. It was a fun few seasons with the Giants, and Candlestick Park was a tough ballpark to pitch in, but, again, that was our home field.
I just have one final question to ask you. Bill, if they don't get to the playoffs this year, will Farhan come back next year? What's your best?
Yeah, he's got a 2-year extension. This was his final year this year, and they extended him 2 years right along with Bob Melvin. So these guys are attached to the hip for another 2 years unless they make a move and try to get somebody else. But right now, ownership likes him. Ownership likes Farhan. In everybody's mind, he isn't doing a good job. I think what he's had is he's had opportunities. He's trying, no doubt about it, but sometimes the lack of opportunities he misses. And there was a lot of misses on this last trade deadline. I thought he could have easily picked up some more bats, and he just didn't do it. In the offense now, we watched him the last 2 games. When I tell you, they had 9 hits in 18 innings. That's not going to do it.
Yeah, I agree with you. Thanks for taking my call.
Gary, thanks for your time. Let's go to Jim in Pittsburgh. Jim, you're on Sports Phone KNBR on a Wednesday night. What's going on?
Good evening. My son and I, we just getting back home after the game, and I don't want to get too deep in analysis, hitting this, hitting that.
Right.
I have a 9-year-old son who just absolutely loves it. He doesn't care. And that's what it's all about. He's out there screaming, going crazy.
He's having fun, right? He's having fun at the ballpark. And boy, you must have had a thriller tonight with him watching that game.
Oh, God, he was going nuts. He was going crazy. He was he couldn't sit down. He couldn't sit down. And we're, complete game shutout and all this. And, my parents are calling. It was just fantastic. And, that's what it's all about through his eyes.
Great memories too, Dad. Great memories for you. Great memories for you and your son.
And I don't want to bring up the gloom and doom of they're just keeping the team good enough so that we keep coming back and keep spending our money down at the stadium.
Well, you got a lot of young players. That's the key that you're looking at. A lot of young nucleus players that we've been waiting to see at the big league level. 2 years ago, I was saying, open the gate, Farhan, let them in. Well, 2 years later, we see them. Luciano's up, Wisely's up, Fitzgerald's up, Schmidt's up. Yeah. You go on, and that's your nucleus. Now, if they can come to life here, get some good at-bats, get some better quality at-bats, get this runners in scoring position and score some runs, that's what I want to see, and the offense just hasn't done it the last 2 nights.
Yeah, someone's got to step up, like you've been saying. But I mean, and one other thing I want to add, to the Oakland fans and what's going on with that franchise and everything. Man, I wish next year they make the playoffs so bad.
They got a good nucleus of players. I'm kind of glad they didn't get rid of Rooker and Andujar and some of the pitchers, and Lawrence Butler having a great year as a young player. I think they're playing good baseball, even though they're 20 games under 500. Their month of July had a winning 15-8, I think it was, for the month. They had 45 home runs. They're going to creep up on the Angels. You watch. They may just jump over them by the end of the season.
Can you imagine if they go to the playoffs playing in that little stadium?
Oh, my goodness. I did TV up there. Yeah, I did TV up with the River Cats for 3 years, and the ball takes off out of there. And now they're going to make that whole field turf. And just think how hot that's going to be, along with the heat that's up in Sacramento. But another day, another story, though. But thanks for the time tonight, Jim. Appreciate you.
All right, have a good one.
All right, let's go to Stockton and talk to CC. CC, you're on KNBR with Bill Lasky. How are you this evening?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm great, CC. The Giants won tonight. Did you go to the game?
I did.
You went to the game, CC?
There. We're leaving right now.
Oh, that's great. What'd you think? Were you cheering? Were you loud?
Yeah, I was so loud. I went with my best friend Harper. Hi.
That's great. Well, hi, girls. I'm so glad you won the game today. Boy, oh boy, it was a fun hour and 55-minute game. I guess you went and got popcorn and the game was almost over.
I know. It was so fast. I know.
Well,
first time on no-hitter.
Did you wear your orange and black arm out there? Did you have your apparel on?
Yeah, except I forgot a hoodie, but I got one.
Well, that's even better. You can go buy a new one. It's even better, right, girls?
Yeah.
So what was your favorite thing of the game today? Was it Logan Webb, or was it just the one run they scored, or overall just maybe the win?
Logan Webb. I thought that was so cool because I've never seen that happen before.
That's cool. Very cool. What'd you think of the ballpark? The ballpark was pretty packed today, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was so packed.
So you had fun, though. Is that the first game you went to this year?
Yeah, it was my first game this year.
Well, you got to go more. The Giants win when you guys go.
I know. Brought the good luck.
Well, you guys be well. I'm sure school's starting soon. When does it start? Next week or so?
Yeah, literally in like 2 weeks.
Well, you got 2 more weeks of summer, girls, so enjoy yourself. Thanks for the call. I appreciate you calling in, and have fun tonight. All right, let's go to Rich in Benicia. Rich, you're on Sports Phone KNBR with Bill Lasky. Good game tonight. What'd you think?
Hello?
Yeah, I'm here, Rich. I got you.
Hi, Bill. I'm sorry. Hey, listen, love your show, man. You're the best.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you.
I can make this pretty quick.
Take your time. We're good.
Okay. Every time I hear Farhan yammer on and on about, 100% chance he believed we could make a chance or make a run at the playoffs or anything like that, in all honesty, we probably have less than a 10% chance. And in a real way, we probably have no chance. But let's assume, for the sake of the argument, that we do make the playoffs. Even if we did, and even if our pitchers weren't 2 rookies and one guy coming off of Tommy John, and 2 really pretty good pitchers in Webb and Kane. And by the way, a great game by Webb tonight. Even if they, were all Cy Young possibilities in the same year, let's assume that, but we have the same lineup. Okay, we're not winning anything. not with this team.
The lineup is. Let's just stop right there and talk real quick about the lineup. You got a lot of guys in this lineup that started the season in AAA, and now you're depending on them to take you through August and September and get quality at bats. Of course, Fitzgerald was extremely hot. He cooled down. He was hitting 370 before this Oakland A's 2-game series. And he goes 0 for 7, and now you're depending him to be over 300. You got to look at Schmidt, who's playing a little second base. Wisely's cooled off a little bit. But don't you think he's putting a lot of pressure on the youth?
Without question, he is, which is okay, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
And they are going to grow, and they're going to season, and they're going to get better. But Bill, when I look at them critically, and I really try to use an honest eye, I see two potentially good, maybe great players out of them as we stand right now. One being Bailey, one being Ramos.
Yep.
I mean, I do not see. I mean, Wisely is a good major league player. Okay, fine. We know that everybody knows that Fitzgerald.
Unproven, right? Unproven. You got to look at those guys and say they're unproven. Now, Matt Chapman's another one I would put into a 3-hole, as you say, Ramos, Bailey, and Chapman. I think those are your 3 nucleus. Lamont Wade Jr. could fall in there. But he seems to always get hurt. He's always got hamstring issues or lower back. I would love to see this guy get healthy and play over 100 games.
Oh, well, me too. And I, in all honesty, I think he's the best hitter on the team. I mean, I think he's the best all-around hitter on the team, and I don't know why he doesn't play against right-handers and left-handers.
And left, I agree.
It drives me crazy. I mean, we keep throwing other guys in there like VR at first base, and it's just a waste of time. It doesn't make any sense. And he's a better defensive player than anybody else he gets.
Yeah, VR, I would say if you're matching Flores and VR, Flores is just having one of those bad years. I'd take VR over him just from the experience of playing better first base, like you say, defensively. I think when he gets hot, he can drive the ball. Something was going on with Wilmer Flores this year. He just has not got anything going. And now you're looking at Tyro Estrada, another one that just, when he came back from the IL, going 2 for 22, and then he got hurt again. So there's a couple guys on that IL that could help him, but, boy, they just haven't had a good season, either one of them.
Okay, but let's assume, again now, let's assume that everybody's playing at their optimum, okay, amongst the guys that we have right now, including Luciano. I don't think, I mean, there's no way Chapman's getting any better anymore and at this age and where he's at. And I mean, I love him as a third baseman, as a defensive third baseman, the best in the league, maybe the best in all of baseball.
I agree.
But he's a 240 hitter now.
He's not a 4-hitter. He's not a 4-hitter in your lineup or a 5-hitter. I liked him when Melvin put him at 6 and 7, and he produced. He had a 3 for 4 night, but he puts too much pressure on him at the 4-hitter and a 5-hitter. I think those are 2 spots in this lineup. They don't have a guy that can do that productively.
I agree with that 100%, and that's why I think that one of the great mistakes of Farhan is Farhan has never understood the idea of a solid middle of the order. In other words, for example, I don't like Ramos hitting second and first. I like him hitting third. Leave him at third.
I agree.
And then find a cleanup hitter and leave him there. And let's flush Conforto. He's done.
Oh my goodness, some bad at bats tonight. Whew. Terrible.
He's washed up. He's done. I mean, as far as I'm concerned. And and I hope Matos has a game. But we don't know. He's only 22. I don't know.
Right.
And I hope Luciano has a game, but I don't know. He's only 22. I like his hitting. I do think that, I don't know if it was you or one of the callers last night who said the first thing I do is give him a first baseman's glove, and next year in spring training, you're playing first base.
I agree. I think, it was one of my callers last night. You're absolutely right. And, he's not a shortstop. We know that. They try to put him at second base, and I don't think he's a second baseman. I know for a fact he's not an outfielder, so why not put him at first base? You need a right-hand power hitter at first base, and if this is who you're going to depend on as being your designated hitter, because he was scalding the ball in AAA. In 2 games, he got a couple hits. I liked his hustle play today from first to second on the fly ball, going to right field. That's something he loves to do. So let's see what he can do. But I'm right there with you. Give him a first baseman's glove. Get him over there. Let's see what he does.
I absolutely agree, and I know that if I had a choice and I could put Casey Schmidt at third or Luciano, I wouldn't even hesitate. Even if Schmidt's hitting 210, I'd put him at third because for the same reason I'd put Chapman there. Because he's a much better defensive player, and we're a pitching-based team, and we need the defense.
How about 13 ground balls today? That was pretty magnificent off Webb. I mean, when he's got over double digits, the changeup's working, the slur's working, and the sinker's working. But great call, and I appreciate your time. And please, call in more. I love talking baseball with you.
Hey, man, you're the best. You are the best.
Thanks, Rich. Appreciate your time. Let's go to Chris in Santa Clara. Chris, you're on a late-night sports phone, KNBR. Good game tonight. What do you got for me?
Hey, great. It's Dodger Chris down in Santa Clara, and about 3 months ago I chatted with you about how all the Giants needed to do was just go 50-50 to get them to right around now. I think you and I had a chance to kind of talk about the schedule, and I think the Giants are right exactly where they need to be. They have
with this upcoming month of August, Chris, I think it is. I think they just have to get some offense rolling. I keep saying it over and over again. This offense just kills them.
Well, you're going to be playing the Marlins. You got the White Sox coming up. You've got it's Cupcake City all the way through.
Well,
August.
this next road trip, they got to turn it around. The Reds for 3 and Washington for 4. You saw what Arizona did to Washington. Cincinnati got rid of a lot of their pitching. They're not playing good baseball. And they got to go in there and really take the series. Take 2 out of 3 or sweep them. Go to Washington. Play 4 good games. Why not?
And I think, looking ahead towards September, now the Dodgers and the Giants, we're done with each other for the year. So we actually
Colorado
have a common opponent. And Colorado, So, I mean, hey, all those of us who are Dodger fans, we want the Giants to thrash on Arizona. Go thrash on the Padres. That's a good thing,
it's
right?
True.
We'd much rather see the Giants.
Yeah, September's going to be a tough month, Chris. You got Baltimore, Kansas City, Arizona, St. Louis. That's going to be a fun month. But if they can get through August with a nice roll and get about 10 games over 500, then you go head-to-head with some of the big monsters.
Now, I did have one suggestion, and I know sometimes the folks running the Giants, do listen to what some of the callers call in. And, I was down back in the Southland seeing family a couple of weeks ago and just kind of reminded, by the time you hit Santa Barbara, all the way through Ventura, and if you're going the other way, all the way out in the Inland Empire, Riverside, San Bernardino, the whole area. I mean, it is Dodger smothered everywhere.
Wow.
And, I've been down here in the South Bay for, decades.
Right.
In Santa Clara County, the Giants are freaking invisible. There's no banners. There's no billboards. This is the dominant population in the Bay Area. And so
I never knew. I never really thought about that. And I think you're 100% right because you get down to San Jose, and of course it's the San Jose Giants, San Jose State's down there. But in that little patch where you are in Santa Clara, nothing, huh?
No, there's nothing around, and I'm in San Jose a lot. My kid plays. He just finished his 12th grade year in baseball, and so I'm a little surprised at how they're not kind of priming the next generation to really be Giants fans because it's different from when you were playing, and you and I'm a little bit younger than you in my 50s, but it's almost like they think that San Francisco, that 800,000 people, is like the center of the Bay Area and the center of the sports world, and things have evolved. It's a different demographic, and even when you think in terms of the call-in shows, I mean, I love your show. I listen to it a lot, but I'll check in what's happening with LA. The callers into the LA version of your show, much younger, much more diverse, whole different kind of vibe. And my challenge is just kind of in terms of encouraging Giants leadership, because this is not like a big money thing. Most of the calls coming in, hey, we got to spend
But you're
millions
absolutely
on this,
right,
millions
and
on
you know
that,
that's the
right?
biggest thing also on KNBR, trying to get to the younger listeners. It's starting to work a little bit, doing the video of YouTube and Twitch and all that, and it's definitely brought more young people into KNBR, and I love it because the ratings are going up. But you're absolutely right. How do you turn on that younger crowd? How do you get their thoughts and energy into the game of baseball? A lot of them,
I mean, San Jose literally has the largest Vietnamese heritage population in the entire world outside of Vietnam. It's 123,000 people in the last census.
Wow.
How about some banners that are both in Vietnamese and in English in the Little Saigon area?
That's
going
a great
with the
call.
Giants.
Yeah,
God,
that's a great call, Chris, and I think that's what has to happen. We got to get more and more people diverse into watching the game, listening to the game, understanding the game, and you're right there. I think that is a big hole that the Giants need to get into those communities and work on.
Cool. Well, good. I'm glad to toss that out there, and maybe I'll.
Chris, great stuff, man. I'm going to open that up. I will definitely open that up. I will definitely talk to the Giants about that. That is a great call, and I appreciate your time tonight. Great information.
You got it.
Appreciate
it. Dodgers.
Hey, wait a minute there. All right, let's go to El Dorado Hills and talk to Verducci. Verducci, my last call tonight on Sports Phone KNBR. How are you?
Hey, Bill, how's it going? First-time caller.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you for calling. I love first-time callers, and tonight was just a magnificent night. I love a good pitching game, and, boy, I just sat back and watched Logan Webb just take care of that game, control it from the first pitch all the way to his 106th pitch. What a great game.
Yeah, it was good to see him get back on the horse and get back to how Webb pitches. And, you keep talking about the offense, Bill, and it just doesn't make any sense to me when you're at the trading deadline. You decide not to move Snell or Ray, and you're banking on your pitching, but then you don't get any offensive help. I mean, I love
and it's inconsistent all first half. The hitting has been inconsistent. I could see if you were hitting 260 as a team, you're hitting under 240 as a team. You're last out of 30 teams in stolen bases. You didn't bring any speed in, and you definitely didn't bring any power in. And I kept looking at first base, and I say it again, Josh Bell, who went to Arizona, they picked him up for $2 million. You don't think that switch hitter, he said 10 home runs in 2 weeks was a good plus? Hell yeah, it would have been a great plus even as a designated hitter.
Well, yeah, and the other thing too is like when they do get on base, is they got to start doing more hit and runs, trying to steal bases. I mean, they got to find ways, even bunting the runner over. I mean, they got to get back to
small ball could come back, but I'd like to see them steal a little bit more opportunities there. They had Soler leading off for so long. I would have loved to seen him come back in the middle of the lineup and given opportunities. They had Lamont here leading off today. They had Fitz leading off. Of course, Jung-Hoo Lee was the main guy that was going to be your leadoff hitter, and they have to come up with an idea who can be a leadoff hitter, take pitches, and get on base. And so far, both games, the only one Lamont Wade hit today was a double, and there wasn't much other than that in both these games at the leadoff position.
Well, we talked about it amongst our friends, too. I mean, it's just the part with Farhan that makes it frustrating is when we've been there, he hasn't really made that big trade that really kind of sets us in the right direction and really kind of jumpstarts a locker room, right? When, people feel like, hey, they made a big trade, there's something that it jolts their excitement. It says that, hey, you're banking, on us, you're invested into this team, you believe that we can make this run, we found the missing piece, and there's always these little add-ons with Farhan, but it just doesn't move the needle, and I just hope that they come together. I just tell, the Giants fans, let's stay strong, let's stay positive, we're in this together.
I agree. And let's see what happens because, and we've been talking about it, Verducci, all the month of August. This is a time where they have to get over 500, get some leverage on the wild card, get closer to it, and then you go into September one-on-one, head-on-head with all these teams, and that's when you'll find out if you're going to have a strong team or if you're going to fall back and not get to playoffs.
Well, and Bill, too, I wanted to let you know, you and I met a long time ago. I was good friends with Vita Blue. I was a teacher at Northern Light School.
Oh, okay.
I was
fantastic.
The DJ for Vita Blue's fundraiser that you'd have at Sequoia Country Club. So you and
then I definitely saw you
back in the day.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I'm so glad you brought that up. So glad you brought that up. And those were some great golf tournaments. And, of course, both you and I miss Vita so much.
Yes, love him to death, and thank you so much for taking my call. Love just what you bring to KNBR and the late night show. So keep it up and go Giants.
Thanks, Verducci. I appreciate all that. And a good man, Vita Blue. Birthday was last Sunday, so great. Appreciate the call, Verducci. All right, we're going to take a quick break. Come back with my buddy Jeff Young. We're going to talk more baseball. Of course, Jeff has so much great knowledge in the game of baseball. Can't wait to talk to him. He's coming up next. We're going to take a quick break. I'm Bill Lasky. This is Sports Phone KNBR. We'll be right back.
Sports Phone KNBR keeps rolling. Live from the KNBR Casino Matrix Progressive Jackpot Studios. Casino Matrix. Progressive Jackpots are here. Where are you? Just drop in. Please play responsibly. 1-800-GAMBLER.
Giants with a great opportunity here with one out. Middle infield, double play depth. And there's a fly ball into center. Yaz is tagging up, going back on the ball a little bit. Blade, shy of the warning track, makes the catch. Both runners are tagging up. Here's the throw in. It's cut off by the shortstop, who relays it to the second baseman, Geloff. Too late. Heads up base running there by Luciano as Yastrzemski scores the first run of the game. Sacrifice fly for Wisely.
All right, back on Sports Phone KNBR with Bill Lasky, and that was the only run that was scored today. They got shut out. The Oakland A's got shut out by Logan Webb, and the Giants scored one run, and that was enough. And they've turned their record now to 54-56. Going into Cincinnati, flying out tomorrow. Cincinnati for 3, Washington for 4. You hear all those games right here on KNBR. We're going to talk some more baseball. I've got a good friend coming on. Of course, he's the fan-sided editor for the San Francisco Giants for Round the Foghorn. Let's bring in my buddy Jeff Young. Jeff, how are you this evening?
Hey, Bill, I'm doing well. How are you doing tonight?
Thanks for holding on to me. A lot of calls tonight, a lot of happy Giant fans with that win. What did you think of the outing of Logan Webb?
What is there to say? I mean, he went 9 innings. What's that called again in baseball? Yeah, it was good to see. You know, he had a couple of rough outings, including even in an All-Star game a couple of weeks ago. So it was nice to see him rebound. I mean, the A's have a pretty good lineup. You know, they certainly can hit for some power. It just looked like Webb was commanding his pitches a little better today than he had in the past couple of starts. You know, maybe he was just kind of wearing down because he's had such a heavy workload. So nice rebound game for Webb. It was good to see, and I think the Giants hope that there's plenty more where that came from.
Well, Jeff, on the post-game show, he said he worked on the changeup. He got away from it. The drawing board had him going back to the changeup, and you and I have talked several times about him throwing more changeups than anything, and he got away from it. And today, when you look at his pitch count, 106 pitches, 54 changeups, and you were watching the same game I did. The hitters could not pick it up. Their front foot was out. The front shoulder was out. They either rolled it over, fouled it off, or missed it completely.
Yeah. I mean, his changeup was definitely working with him, and the fact that he was throwing it, 51% of the time. I mean, it was definitely a pitch that he had confidence in. Mixing in with the sinker as well to get plenty of ground balls. But yeah, that changeup, it doesn't have quite. And I'm looking at Baseball Savant as we talk. It doesn't have quite the same vertical movement that it's had in the past, but it's still got really good movement, downward late movement. So. When it's on, it's a pitch that hitters either hit into the ground or they just swing right through it, right on top of it. So it was working for him tonight. He had a lot of confidence in it, and he was commanding it in the strike zone well. And when he needed it, it came through.
I'm sure you were thinking the same thing, Jeff, in that first inning when they got the first 2 base hits after he got the ground ball to short. Here we go again in that first inning where all the blunders happen, the bad pitches are made, and it seems like that first inning is just so hard for Logan Webb to get out of. But boy, he comes right back with sinker, and strikes out 2 hitters on strikeout call strike threes. Perfect pitches. How did you think he rebounded after that?
Yeah, I mean that had to have been a confidence booster for him. I think he had 2 runners on base at the time, 1 in scoring position. So it's a game that could have went upside down pretty quickly. I think the Giants hoped that with Ross Stripling on the mound for the A's that they would be able to get more than 1 run across the board, but that wasn't necessarily the case. They got 1 exactly, and that was enough. But yeah, I mean that first inning turned out to be a pretty key moment in the game. Him getting out of that jam. One thing about Logan Webb, that's whether he's good or he's struggling. I mean, the thing that stands out to me about him is that when he knows how to pitch with runners on base. He's pretty calm in the same way that some Giants pitchers in the past, like Matt Cain, can be with runners on base. He's fine pitching through traffic. It's something he's comfortable doing. So it was nice to see him get out of it today.
Jeff Young joining me. Of course, you can follow him on X compared to Twitter. That's what it is, at Baseball Jeff #1. Does a great job with stats during the game, minor league reports. Fascinating stuff, Jeff. You continue to amaze me and how much work you put into that. Let's just talk a little bit about what you and I were talking about probably 2 weeks ago, maybe even a month, holding runners on. They were stealing bags left and right. Bailey throws 2 guys out last night. There's more slide steps. There's more throwovers. Have you seen a difference like I have?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it was such an obvious issue that the Giants just had to correct immediately. So, I mean, you got to give credit to Bob Melvin and his coaching staff for identifying the issue in the first place and being able to get the pitching staff to show some improvement, because, you know, if you give a guy like Patrick Bailey a chance, he's going to throw out some runners trying to steal. But especially earlier in the year, the Giants pitching staff just was not giving him a chance. There was, you know, the leg kick was too high. It was too slow. They just weren't getting the ball to the plate quick enough. They weren't checking on the runner. I mean, but, you know, I think you can see the improvement because Patrick Bailey's been able to throw out a couple more runners recently compared to the start of the season. So nice improvement by the pitching staff. There's still some work to do. But, you know, if you give Patrick Bailey any chance to throw out a runner, the odds are in his favor at that point.
Jeff, let's talk a little bit about the pitching, because now Jordan Hicks goes to the bullpen, not a starter. Now Hayden Birdsong jumps in there, 22-year-old kid that's really performing very well. Jordan Hicks now in the bullpen. Where do you see him? In the middle innings, long innings? Do you think he could be a setup guy? What do you see in Jordan Hicks in the Giants bullpen now?
Yeah, I think the Giants are going to use him in leverage opportunities. I don't think they're going to use him as a closer. That's not really a role that he's been used at all that much in the past. He has been a closer. It's just not been a consistent role for him in the past. So I'd be surprised if the Giants, given that they have a few other options, Camilo Duvall struggled this year. I think it's pretty fair to say at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But even if they looked at other options at closer, I think a guy like Ryan Walker would be somebody who would do quite well in that role, and probably somebody who the Giants eye as a potential closer if they get to a point where they need to replace Duvall. So I think Jordan Hicks could be a 7th or 8th inning guy, depending on the matchups. You know, just importantly, I think they just want to get him right, because his last few outings, his last maybe handful, 6 or 7 outings, he's been kind of roughed up, especially, you know, when he was still in the rotation. And you know, some of that has to be due to the fact that, you know, he's reached a career high in innings. He's at 100 and 2/3 innings at this point. That's nearly 25 innings more than he's ever done in a season in the past. So he's got to be tired at this point. But, you know, moving into the bullpen now kind of gives him a chance to save his arm. But, yeah, to answer your question, I think it's going to be leverage spots, but probably not in the closer role would be my guess.
Yeah, one of the pitchers that I'm glad is back. He pitched really well in AAA when he got optioned down, is Spencer Bivens. Really threw the ball yesterday extremely well, going 2 2/3. Gives up a double the first time, first hitter up, and then he shuts him down. Really good movement on the sinker, good breaking ball, off-speed stuff. Do you think he's here to stay? Do you think he's that guy that could be in that middle role just like Hicks? Where do you see him fit in?
Yeah, I mean, the Luke Jackson trade, I think, creates an opening in the bullpen. And one thing about Spencer Bivens that stands out is that he just really attacks the strike zone well. You know, he doesn't walk a lot of batters. He keeps the pace of the game moving along. And, you know, he just throws a lot of strikes. He's got that sinker that works for him. It sits in the low to mid-90s. He gets plenty of ground balls with it. Yeah, so, I mean, I think he's going to be here to stay. I mean, I don't know what the bullpen's going to look like if and when everyone's healthy, but it feels like Bivens has a role in this bullpen. The Giants like him because he's a strike thrower, and that's something you want to see from a reliever out of the bullpen. You want the pace of the game to keep moving, and you want somebody who's not going to, you know, walk batters or slow the pace down or anything like that. And Bivens is kind of the opposite of that. So I think there's a good chance for him now to kind of carve out a role in this bullpen for this season and maybe for future seasons.
Well, one name you brought up, Jeff, Camilo Duvall. Boy, the phone calls were flying in here over the weekend, all about wanting to trade Camilla Duvall. Very upset of how his mannerisms are on the mound, how he gives up a walk when the first hitter comes in. The other day, he gives up 2 base hits in a row. What do you think's going on with him? I mean, I've asked many people. Just don't have anybody answering it correctly because he has the lights-out stuff. You and I have been talking about what he can throw, from the hard slider to the two-seamer to the 102-mile-an-hour cross-seam fastball. What do you see in him? What do you think's going on?
Yeah, I mean, the thing that stands out to me is there's no change in his stuff. You know, his fastball still hits, the high 90s and can reach triple digits. He's got that slider that's tough on opposing hitters. It's still tough on opposing hitters this year. The thing that stands out to me is just his command of those 2 pitches. He's still striking out a healthy number of batters. Batters are still struggling to make contact against him, but he's walking a few too many batters too. But it's not just the walks; it's the missed locations that's coming with that as well, and that just kind of makes me think that it's a command issue because you look where the catcher sets up and you look where the pitch ends up, and it's like, well, he left the ball over the plate on a pitch that was called to be on the outer half of the zone, and what did you think was going to happen at that point? So I just feel like his control has taken a pretty noticeable step back this year compared to the past couple of years. He's never going to be a high, a strong command or an above average command type of pitcher. That's just not who he is, and especially with his arsenal. But, over the past couple of years, he's definitely done a pretty nice job of commanding his fastball and slider. But this year it's been a pretty noticeable step back.
Jeff Young joining me on Sports Phone KNBR for a few more minutes. We got to jump on this offense because Soler gets moved over. They bring up Marco Luciano, and I know you were watching him very closely in AAA, ripping the cover off the ball in the month of July. What have you seen out of him differently as a hitter? You've been spotting him in AAA. What has he done in AAA that they want him to be now the designated hitter?
Yeah, I think, earlier in the year, Marco Luciano was really struggling to get lift on the ball. With him, it's never really been an issue with hitting the ball hard. He's always made loud contact. When he makes contact, it's generally going to be very hard. That's just, who he is. He generates pretty impressive bat speed. But earlier in the year, he just was not getting the lift on the ball. So even if he was hitting the ball hard, he was hitting it into the ground. So, he's a power hitter, but he wasn't, he wasn't allowing his power to play. So that was one area that he's kind of cleaned up. He hit 6 home runs in July with Sacramento. So that was a pretty positive sign. The other thing that the Giants wanted him to work on offensively was really controlling the strike zone better, limiting his chase rate and making better swing decisions. And I think he's made some nice strides. There's still work to be done, but he's made some nice strides in doing that in AAA. And you kind of see it already in against Major League pitching. He's just not chasing out of the zone all that much. At times he's kind of bordering on passive, but I think the Giants just want him to stay in the zone and swing at strikes because, when you're swinging at pitches outside of the zone, you're either swinging and missing or you're making really poor contact. But with Luciano, it's really just about controlling that strike zone. So I think those are the 2 keys that stand out to me. He's getting more lift on the ball than he was earlier in the year, and he's controlling the strike zone more. So it feels like this is a good opportunity for him to really show what he can do for the Giants, especially with his bat.
Jeff, Farhan Zaidi keeps Blake Snell, keeps the rotation, says best rotation in Major League Baseball. Do you think he missed by not getting a bat? Do you think he missed by trying to improve the offense? What do you think about how he took that trade deadline?
Yeah, I mean, that was an interesting approach what the Giants did, and I know it's not been viewed favorably throughout baseball. I think people don't understand whether they were buying or selling. They traded away Jorge Soler, who was one of their hotter hitters. But it also opens up an opportunity for somebody like Luciano. If Farhan Zaidi thought that he had the best rotation in baseball, which, I think the rotation could be a strength. Especially with how Blake Snell has looked over the past few starts, Logan Webb being, the pitcher that he is, Birdsong and Harrison looking like rotation cogs for years to come. I think that the rotation could definitely be a strength. I don't know if I would call it the best rotation in baseball, but you could see the upside there. There's definite upside there. But with that being said, I mean, if he truly felt that this was the best rotation in baseball, it would have been nice to augment the roster more, especially offensively, by going out and getting somebody more than Mark Canha. And to be honest, Mark Canha is a pretty decent hitter. But it just, the right-handed hitting first baseman wasn't necessarily a need for the Giants. There were a few guys who were moved at the deadline who kind of stood out to me as guys who, if you kind of squint at what they do, they could have been some nice improvements. Guys like, Jesse Winker, who was a left-handed hitting outfielder from the Nationals. He went to the Mets. Ahmed Rosario, who's a pretty decent hitting middle infielder, more so a second baseman than a shortstop, but he went to the Dodgers. So, I mean, just small additions like that, if he made a few more of those, it just felt like if he was going to buy, then that would have made a little more sense than the moves he did make ultimately. So.
Well, one of the questions I want to ask you is, he was talking about wanting to get a center fielder, somebody that was in control, maybe just finishing out a contract year here, because of course Jung-Hoo Lee is out there next year. Why don't you think, maybe I should ask this way, why do you think he felt that you needed to get a center fielder, and do you think Elliot Ramos will be out there most of the time?
Yeah, I think Ramos, he's challenged in center field at times, especially when Luis Matos was out there. There was just some miscommunication issues that
almost had one tonight too.
Almost had one tonight too. So
yeah,
I'm not sure I think he's better suited for the corners. He's got a strong arm. He's a fast runner. I just think he's challenged in center field, and I've always thought that Mike Yastrzemski is probably a better overall center fielder, even though he's not really a fast runner. He gets really good reads. He runs efficient routes. But, yeah, I mean, center field was definitely a need defensively for the Giants. There just weren't that many options available. Of course, the Dodgers went out and got Kevin Kiermaier, who's arguably one of the better center.
What did you think about Kevin Pillar coming back here? He's had a great year, but I just don't think he wanted him back here. I think he was looking for an upgrade. I just didn't know where he was going to go with that center field thought.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Kevin Pillar didn't get moved, because the Angels, they're just not really going anywhere this season. And Pillar was having a really nice year. Now, I don't think anyone buys the numbers that he's put up this year with the Angels, but it's a little surprising that he wasn't moved at the trade deadline. But if you're going to go for a glove first center fielder, I don't know if a 35-year-old Kevin Pillar is exactly that. I think he's a good outfielder still, but if you're going to go with a glove first guy, then a guy like Kevin Kiermaier or Trent Grisham's name was mentioned, but. If you're going to go with defense, I mean, maybe they just give a guy like Grant McCray in AAA an opportunity. And
that's kind of what I've heard that. I've heard that Alex Pavlich threw it out there today that Hatbot might be a possibility in the month of August and September. He's moved up from Richmond to Sacramento. What kind of numbers does he have in Sacramento?
Yeah, more of the same in Sacramento that he had with Richmond. I think he has around a 730 OPS. He still works the count. His strikeout, he's still going to strike out a little bit. Just his bat path has some swing and miss that's inherent with it. He doesn't chase out of the zone all that much, which is a pretty positive sign, especially for somebody who's going to be, probably going to be a leadoff hitter. But, if you go with a guy like Grant McCray, you're going to make a trade-off offensively for defense, because he's a pretty good defensive center fielder, and he might be the best defensive center fielder that the Giants have in the organization right now. He was a track runner and a football player in high school. He's really athletic, well above average runner. He's just got a knack for tracking down fly balls, and just very athletic. So
we saw that too, Jeff, in spring training, how much Bob Melvin used him, and he was on the go every time he got on a base. He was pinch running. And you told me earlier how much he ran in AA. Now he's running in AAA. He covers the outfield extremely well. Maybe that's our answer in center field.
Yeah, I mean, it's something they'll probably take a look at, just because he's eligible for the Rule 5 draft in the offseason. So I think if the Giants are motivated to protect him from that in the offseason, they might as well just add him to the 40-man roster before the end of the year and just kind of give him a cup of coffee and see how he performs. So it wouldn't surprise me if they end up doing that this year.
Jeff, as we finish, I got to ask you this. You're working with Brooks Knudsen, a good friend of mine also, on the Pitchers Park Pod. Tell me a little bit about that as we conclude.
Yeah, well, Brooks and I are just trying something new. Both of us are huge sports nerds, so a chance for us to talk about baseball is really just something that we just want to try out. So I mean, if people don't get enough of my reading or reading the stuff I put out there, they can listen to Brooks and I talk about baseball too for a few minutes.
I'm going to have to jump on that because I like what Brooks does and I love what you do, and a good pair, I can tell you that. And I wonder who gets more talking in with you guys.
I think Brooks is really the face of the operation. I'm just there for occasional jokes, I guess.
Well, Jeff, thanks again for jumping on with me. It's always great catching up with you. And like I tell people, you got to get on X and read his work at BaseballJeff1. And again, Jeff Young, I appreciate your time again, my friend.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Bill. The pleasure is all mine.
Excellent. All right, we're going to take a quick break, come back with more on Sports Phone KNBR with Bill Lasky on the leader, KNBR.
Sports Phone KNBR keeps rolling. Live from the KNBR Casino Matrix Progressive Jackpot Studios. Casino Matrix. Progressive jackpots are here. Where are you? Just drop in. Please play responsibly. 1-800-GAMBLER.
Welcome back to Sports Phone KNBR with Bill Lasky. I'm honored to have a good friend of mine on right now. Of course, he played 10 years in Major League Baseball, all of them with the Oakland A's. And then in a 10-year career, he was a 1981 American League All-Star. He won 2 Gold Gloves as a pitcher, 1980 as well as 1981. And he's in a distinguished club. It's called the Black Aces. African-American pitchers that have won 20 games in Major League Baseball. A very cool club. Let's welcome in my buddy Mike Norris. Mike, how are you today?
Fine, Bill. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. I'm glad to get to talk to you today, my friend. Of course, tomorrow, Tuesday and Wednesday, the Bay Bridge Series is starting again. The Oakland A's against the San Francisco Giants. Of course, you and I really didn't have a Bay Bridge Series. We did that in spring training and then right before the season. What did you think about those games?
I think it's great, actually. If there could be more, it'd even be better. But no, no doubt that's one of the greatest rivalries in baseball, the Giants and the A's.
It really brings the fan base together, Mike. I think that's the cool thing about it. The fan bases come over to the Oakland Coliseum, and then they come over to Oracle Park again tomorrow. It's just a fun thing, and I think both teams and their both fan bases, I think they kind of cheer for each other when they're not playing each other.
Well, the great thing about it is, Bill, is both teams have a great history for winning and being in the World Series. So, that ties over into anytime anything goes into the future, it's going to be exciting.
Well, pitching has changed, of course, in the new wave of pitching. No complete games, not many at all. And I got to look, in 1980, boy, one of the best years you had, 24 complete games. You pitched 284 innings. That'll never be replicated now. There's no chance that's going to happen. And back then, we were groomed to go 9 innings. We weren't thinking about going 5 and fly. Now the game has changed. What do you think about the game, and do you think pitchers are coddled too much?
Well, I don't think so, because even prior to my generation, I'm just looking at Bob Gibson's stats and stuff, and those guys threw 300 innings regularly. They completed many more than 20 games, 5 and 6 years, 7 years in a row. So, I don't know what to say about that. And speaking about our situation, the Oakland A's pitching staff, everybody wants to say Billy Martin blew our arms out. But that wasn't true, because we were on a pitch count, okay? And believe it or not, the great thing with Billy taught us was how to throw pitch games with fewer pitches as necessary. So we're throwing strikes. That was what they preached, is throw strikes. So anytime you're going 3-2, 3-1, then that's your pitch count goes up. If you learn how to throw, instead of trying to strike everyone out, you get your nice ground ball. That helps. So it's how you pitch and stuff. But these kids now are all throwing in the high 90s and some in the 100s. So the strikeout is the big thing, which, that was great in our era too. I don't get it wrong. But the velocity is so high now. And then they're snapping off these cutters and sliders, and that's just, the elbow just can't take that.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Mike Norris joined me on Sports Phone KNBR. In 1980, you won 22 games. You were 22-9, and that takes us to the next club. You guys all joined in, the Black Aces, a real prestigious club when you think about some of the members in this team. And I say team because it really is a team of some great pitchers. Tell me about that club that you're in, and tell me a few of the players or pitchers that are part of it.
Well, as I mentioned, Mr. Gibson, that was my idol as a black pitcher. Watching him pitch in the World Series, I can't really say what year that was, but I'm sure it was in the early 60s. And I tried to emulate him. Of course, that follow-through that he had, it was over the first base, so I knew that was correct. But the guy had such natural ability that he got away with that, because it didn't hurt his fielding prowess, obviously. I just think about Bob Gibson, and then we had Marichal, and then I can't forget about the 16th, and what was that, 18 innings or something he pitched against Warren Spahn one night?
Yep, he sure did.
So, so we know that pitching a lot of innings was something that was completely normal back in the day.
Yeah, 20 games, 20 wins. Those are one of the big things that are part of this Black Aces. And I think that pushes us into what we want to talk about now that's going on in baseball. And you're starting to work on a book as well as a movie, as well as you're doing something else in Oakland. And you're starting to build something within. Let's talk a little bit about that, Mike. Let's listen to what you have to say of what you're trying to put together.
Well, I have the Mike Norris Baseball Academy, and it's entitled A Pitch to Victory. And I have 364 kids, and what we're trying to do is not just have baseball players, but athletes. So we have flag football, we have tackle football, we have basketball, and we've even gotten a soccer team. So it's an accumulation of African-American kids and Latin kids.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really an interesting thing to see these kids. We start them at 3 years old, but the parents will be on the field with them, and just let them kind of know that instead of running to third base when they hit the ball, to go to first base. It's the cutest stuff you ever want to see. I'll never forget when they put the bat in the hands for the first time, and then some of them use it like a tennis racket with one hand, and some of them are bat cross-handed. So it's like, wow, well, they've never seen baseball on TV or anything, and so even to get to the 6 and 7 year olds, that happens with them, and so it makes you wonder, because I think in our era, we grew up and we knew how to hold a bat and things of that nature. And so these kids are oblivious to it. But it's a beautiful thing when they come together after about 2 months and stuff, and then they really start looking like little ball players. And it's a beautiful thing to see.
Well, what you're doing, Mike, is you're teaching the game. You're passing the torch, as we always say, things that you learned and what you accomplished in your career. Now you're trying to teach it to younger kids. And it brings up a point about African-American players. Not too many in major leagues, not too many in the minor leagues, and not too many interested in baseball. How are you going to change that?
Well, as I said, we have 217 baseball players. Okay, and we also have a girls' baseball team, and they're in the same league with the boys and stuff. And we recall one team, they beat them about 16-2, and then the next time on the schedule to play, the other kids forfeited, so they couldn't comprehend the girls whooping them like that, man. So it was really interesting. But
well,
yeah,
one of the things, Mike, you and I always talk about are idols, people that we looked up to. Willie Mays, Willie McCovey, on the Giants side. And you look on your side of the bay, Ricky Henderson, Reggie Jackson. And, of course, when you start looking at pitchers, you had mentioned Juan Marichal. You're looking at the Oakland A's. You're looking at Evita Blue, one of our best friends. And this is what I think kids need to start looking into, looking at people that they can look up to, listen to, and understand. And I think that's one of the premises you're doing over there. Am I right?
And you're absolutely correct. And see, the thing is, with the situation with the lack of African Americans in Major League Baseball, it's almost facetious and redundant for me to preach to them, okay, you're going to do this so you can play in the major leagues. Right now, with the way society is, the main goal is for education. So we have an after-school program, and we teach them academics. And then we also have the other component is health and wellness, to teach them the right foods and nutrition they eat.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one is spirituality. And you must have that, because the way these kids are taking guns and murdering people and without a conscious level, I talked to a couple of my kids about not going to jail and prison. And one of the kids told me, he said, "What are you talking about, man? I don't give a damn about going to jail, man. My cousins and all my best friends are in jail."
Mm.
And I was just appalled at that, man. And I had to, I had to regroup, because I almost wanted to say something back to him that wouldn't have been the right response to him. But,
yeah.
It's just amazing. So, and it's kind of sad that the other component is that these are young mothers can't afford the game of baseball. Your aluminum bat is $300. Your glove is $60 to $100.
Mm.
You got to get the shoes, and they've got to be Nikes and things of that nature, because the kids won't want to put on anything cheap. Everything is a style and a fashion. And then, the travel ball league they're $1,500 a month, not a year, a month. And so none of these underprivileged mothers can afford this. I mean, it's just absolutely redundant. So I'm very lucky that I have people that give me bats and balls and things of that nature to help out. And it's just really a beautiful thing to see people coming back. But then we need more money. The money is what makes it. If we're going to have a travel ball team, we have to have bands, and we have to have food and things like that to feed them. And so it's a lot that goes into it. So this is one of the reasons why you don't see a lot of African-American kids playing ball. But this is the worst thing, I think, is on the ground roots where you go to the parks in their neighborhoods and they turn the baseball fields into soccer fields, knowing that our black kids don't play soccer. So where are they going to play? You know, so they just rather be inside with a basketball anyway, okay? Yeah. And then, you know, they identify, like you said, there's no idols to identify with in baseball, like we had Mays and McCovey. So these kids now, their idols are LeBron James and you know, and all the other basketball stars that are going around today. And then the football's the same way. And so it's addressed more on TV. And just like with the World Series, we only had, in 23, I think we only had one African American that played in the World Series. Then last year,
it's something that's got to change, Mike. No doubt about it. Mike Norris on with Sports Phone KNBR for a few more minutes, and you're doing the right thing and trying to change the culture. You're trying to build it within. How do fans get a hold of you to join, to help you, to build this academy? What can the fan base do to help Michael Norris?
Well, I'm at Mike Norris Baseball Academy, and if you want to go online, you can do it's called a Pitch to Victory. A Pitch to Victory.
And those things, I think fans will, you know, help you. I think the support is going to be there once they see what you're trying to build and what you're saying right now in our little interview, the things that make it happen, to change a culture, to build within, as we keep talking about. And an academy is the right way to do it. Michael, how long have you been doing this, and what is the progression that you want to see?
Well, I've been doing this since 2009. I started back in the park that I grew up in Margaret Hayward over in San Francisco. And then I ran into problems on a political thing that the Sacred Heart High School that's right up on top of the hill with the big, beautiful church, and the school is right down the street from it, and they spent $1.8 million on remodeling the ballpark. So who gets to play in the ballpark?
You tell me.
Well, so while the girls Catholic school girls softball team gets the fields and stuff, and the kids that are playing hardball don't get the field.
I see.
So that's another avenue. So it's
field support too. Just like what you're saying, when they flip fields over, there's not a place to play. There's not a place to help kids at. But you're still grinding, and I think that's the heart of Michael Norris that I know. Final thoughts, Mike, on the academy, on the book, the movie you're trying to develop. What about that? Tell us a little bit about that you're trying to develop in that way.
Okay, well, the name of the movie is going to be Pitch Black, and that's the part of my life where I went through drugs and alcohol abuse myself, and thank God I came back out on the other side right. So I started out in the light, I went into the dark, and I'm come back out on the light now. So that's the way I kind of look at everything in life right now for my life, and this is what I bring to these children. And coming from somebody that has been an addict instead of somebody that comes out and they've never done drugs, I think I get across to them a little better. And when they see me basically on a daily basis, and I'm dressed well, you know, I try to be in a suit and tie as much as possible, and give them a standard of living instead of they look at themselves and they got the pants down their butts and the hat sideways on their head. This drives me crazy. And then they don't wonder why they can't get a job. You can't go into a corporation with a jersey on and pants dragging down your butt. So, you know.
Well, those are all good standards. Those are standards of life and the practice that you led when you were a player as well now, and I think that's a good guidance for all of them. But, Mike, it's great catching up with you, my friend, and good luck in what you're doing. And I just hope to hell one day Mike Norris Baseball Academy is bigger and better than anything else that you've ever done.
Well, that's what I'm aspiring to have, then. Thank you so much, Bill, for having me, man. I'm sure someone got a hold of this in their ear and can spread the word.
I appreciate your time. That's Mike Norris on Sports Phone KNBR. More coming up right here on KNBR, the sports leader.
We want your reaction, so give us a ring or blow up the text line at 415-808-KNBR. This is Sports Phone KNBR, streaming live at twitch.tv/the sports leader.
Welcome back to Sports Phone KNBR with Bill Lasky as we wind up a Wednesday, and the San Francisco Giants win tonight 1-0. Logan Webb just threw a gem, going 9 innings, 5 hits, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts, 13 ground balls, 6 fly balls, and just pitched one hell of a game, and I can say that over and over again. Giants win 1-0. They go 54-56. Day off tomorrow as they travel to Cincinnati for 3 and Washington for 4. I want to thank my guest today, Jeff Young, and I want to thank all of you for all the phone calls and conversations about baseball. What a great show it was. I want to thank my producer, Jacob, and Cole for picking up all the phone calls. And once again, thanking you for making Sports Phone KNBR a success. For Bill Lasky, be well, be safe. I'll be on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for the post-game shows, so join me then. Coming up next, more on KNBR.
This is the flagship of Giants baseball. Double play! KNBR and KNBR FS San Francisco, the sports leader.
Feeling quite as confident.
Even after my prelim yesterday, I just was kind of feeling like those first 3 swims, each one of them felt faster than the time. And I think, doubts enter your mind. You just, you just try to stay positive through it all. And it's kind of been like how it's been all year for me, really, just through training. Like, there's so many ups and downs. And, Coach Nesty and all my coaches do a really good job of keeping me steady, keeping me on track, reminding me to trust the process. Yeah, that's just why I was so happy in the end. Like, I just felt like I finally put together a swim that matched how I felt, was in line with what I felt I was capable of, even just between trials and this meet as well. Just kind of finally having a swim that, like a time that I could feel pretty happy with.
Amazing, right? Even Katie Ledecky has doubts. And, the mental side of this. She had done an interview recently where she talked about what she would think about as she's going up and back and up and back and up and back. I mean, think about the number of times you have to go up and back in a pool in order to make 1,500 meters. I mean, you're out there for 15 minutes straight. Now, it may not seem like a lot, right? It's for us maybe a walk to the Walgreens in town, or it's a short drive to get takeout, but you're swimming and you're powering through 1,500 meters, 15 straight minutes, which in and of itself is crazy, right? She can go up and back in 60 seconds, and that's not even a quality sprint time. But the way that she has to battle the mental side of things, to try to think positive thoughts. And she even mentioned, too, that when she's going through, sometimes she's thinking about different people that have helped her along the way. She's thinking about people that are there watching her and supporting her. She says she actually told NBC that the voice in her head is a lot like someone who would be giving her a pep talk. And so she has to stay positive. And every now and then her mind will wander, but for the most part, she needs to stay focused, but to be focused positively, because you just have to keep going and push through. She was even talking about how when she starts to feel that kind of cramp in her side, or she kind of pushes through the pain, because even as good as she is, and as long as she's been doing this, she still has to push through the pain. Those times when your lungs feel like they hurt or your legs are aching. But she actually says because of her mental focus, those are some of the times where she delivers the fastest splits, even though she's feeling the pain. This is a real loose comparison, but I always seem to hit a wall at 2 different times during the half marathons when I run them. And I found that it's so important what I'm thinking about. Now, there will be moments when I think to myself, what the hell am I doing? Why do I keep doing this? And yet the positives and how I can convince myself, all right, if you can just get to that next turn, you can get through this next mile. And so it really is a lot of the pep talk to myself as I run. And I can imagine that it's that way for her too. Just really cool to hear some of the science behind what she's thinking as she goes through these 1,500 meter freestyle wins. And in this case, another Olympic record. It's After Hours with Amy Lawrence, online, A-Law Radio. People don't some people don't like hearing about the Olympics, which I'm kind of bummed about for you. I mean, you're missing out on some pretty incredible performances. If you love sports, there's something for everyone in these Olympics. Whether or not you are a fan of Paris or the opening ceremonies, the athletes have nothing to do with it, and it's incredible. And I would say you're probably in the minority, too, because the numbers for these Paris Olympics broadcasts have been really strong so far. I'll get to the numbers for the gymnastics all-around final. Or not all-around. The team final. The all-around's coming up Thursday. The team final through the roof for Simone Biles and Suni Lee and the rest of Team USA. So, yeah, I saw those numbers earlier on Wednesday. I want to make sure that I pass them along. So Katie Ledecky now has 8 gold medals, which is tied for the most ever for an American woman in the pool. But she has 12 total medals. And yeah, that number is pretty astounding.
I feel great. It's an amazing atmosphere here in Paris, and just wanted to put forth a really good effort and something that I could be really happy with.
So that was on NBC. You can still hear the crowd behind. You don't want to know why? Because right after her race, Léon Marchand was in the pool, and the French fans were going nuts. So it's crazy. The way that they time their yelling when he comes out of the pool so that he can hear them, and he definitely does hear them. One more with Katie, and I thought this was interesting. A reporter, I think he was from Yahoo. So I was listening to the press conference with Ledecky, and actually the silver and the bronze medalists were sitting alongside, but she was the one for whom most of the questions were posed. And it was a reporter from Yahoo, I believe, who asked her about her celebration. So when, I'm surprised she has any energy left to celebrate, but when the race is over and she realized she had set a new Olympic record in the 1,500 meter freestyle, she does what a lot of the swimmers do. She smacks the water with both hands, and it goes flying up in the air. Lots of big splashes. Almost knocked over my coffee when I was demonstrating that. That would have been a major misfail. And then she's yelling, and I don't know why the question struck me a little odd, because it seems like all of the athletes, especially when they have this big success or when